All right, we're live. Dr. Jonathan Pritchett, thank you for joining me on the Theofly podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, today's topic is maybe a little different from the topics that I normally share with when I'm talking about theology and things like that. Just talking about church life, Christianity, all those kinds of topics. One that I find gets kind of overlooked is the physical fitness. In fact, in my background, I have seen many pastors who they'll preach heavy against all kinds of stuff, but they seem to overlook physical fitness, and they'll eat just kind of really terribly. And so this is something that I find that the Lord kind of put on my heart recently, is to take my health seriously. And so I wanted to ask you. I knew that this was a similar journey you had gone on, so I wanted to kind of get your story. And I think we're having some internet issues, but we will deal with it as it goes.
Yeah. In 2019, just so people know, now I'm 46, but I'm 5'8". I weigh about 164 pounds as of this morning, but back in 2019, I was up to about 220 pounds, which on my frame is a lot of extra weight, and it was giving me a lot of health problems. And one of the things that my doctor told me is you need to lose weight or you're going to have serious consequences. I was on blood pressure medicine. I was on a statin. I was taking anxiety medication as well. At that time, I wasn't getting much sun. I mean, when you have a job like I do, I'm the vice president of academic affairs at Trinity College of the Bible Theological Seminary. And so I sit at a desk a lot and I read a lot, whether it's books or journal articles, or I'm grading papers or whatever. I do a lot of reading. And so it's easy to sit at a desk with work like this. And then, of course, in church culture, we do a lot of eating. And when I had started Trinity back in 2014, I probably weighed about 170, 175 pounds. But by, 5 years later, I was up to 220 and I was having all kinds of health issues. So for me, it was the doctor said, you need to do something about this, or, you're going to be dead in your 50s probably. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of a wake-up call, because I had gone to the ER a couple of times before then. And, I did the stress test and did all that fun stuff. And the doctor was like, look, we got to fix this. And so I started in April of 2019. I started just walking, and I completely changed my diet. And I did everything that the experts, or so-called experts, or at least the fitness influencers who claim certain certification, did everything they said not to do, because I had listened to this other Christian YouTuber, and he had kind of gone through something similar. And he had said, when it comes to your health and fitness, you need to hit rock bottom immediately and work to change. They're going to tell you make small changes over time, gradually add things in or whatever. But no, you need to hit rock bottom and completely change. And that's what I knew that I needed to do. So I did it just, I guess is the equivalent of a smoker just trying to go cold turkey. I just kind of went all in. And I was able to get down to 145 pounds from 220 in 6 months, just by changing my diet. I started, strict caloric deficit to about 1,500 calories a day, which was not a lot of food. And then I made sure I got no less than 10,000 steps a day. And I tried doing I was pretty weak too. So I had a couple of 25-pound dumbbells. I started doing various exercises around the house. And then by June, I decided to join a gym, and I started working out 5 days a week. And it just kind of gradually got more and more and more, and was able to get my strength up and all of that. And so by the end of that, it just going all in, I got it off, and it was over and done with. And the thing for me was, I knew, because I've tried it before, that dieting stinks. I mean, there's just no way to say it. I don't particularly care for eating healthy. I just have to. And I mean, I love junk food. I love Takis. I love potato chips. I love pizza. I love all that stuff. It's just, I have to be very, very careful with it. I have to, once a week indulge myself to not go insane. But other than that, I stay away from it. And then, so that kind of went along for me for a while, but I just needed to get it off. And once I got it all off, by October, I was, down 75 pounds. I was no longer on any of my medications. I went and got checked out on my blood work and all that. My, I think the PSA levels went down. My cholesterol went down. My blood pressure problem was gone. I was not having any anxiety attacks.
Mm.
And I was getting outside more. So my vitamin D was a lot better because I was taking that and taking potassium supplements. But yeah, I just decided to go all in and get it over with because it's going to be terrible. And I didn't want to drag the terrible out for a longer period of time. So I just wanted to get it over with. And then I guess since March of 2020, when they shut all the gyms down, I was just, 5-6 months into having a healthier lifestyle, and I needed to figure out what I wanted to do. But a lot of people had bought out all of the fitness equipment. So I was just scrounging for what I can. But ever since then, I haven't been going to the gym at all. I either work out here in my office on my lunch break, or I work out at home, or I have some stuff that I take to travel. So that's kind of my background. And it's kind of one of those things, you become a crusader that once you see what kind of difference it makes for you, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, and just get rid of the brain fog that comes with being slow and out of shape and sluggish. And, it's just, you have more time in the day when you start getting your sleep sorted out, things, all those little changes have had a huge benefit to my productivity, to my relationship with my family, my relationship with God, my ability to serve my church and community outside of work, being more involved and active, because there were things that I didn't want to do because, when you have anxiety and high blood pressure, every little heartbeat that you can feel triggers you. It makes you feel like, I maybe I've gone too far. When I first started walking, believe it or not, we have a kind of a loop in our neighborhood, but I wouldn't even do that for the first 3 months because I was afraid if I collapsed, I wouldn't be able to do anything. And I was walking around my backyard in circles just to get my steps in.
Really?
It's very mind numbing and boring. And thank God for podcasts. but I was just walking, and my backyard's not big, but I was just walking in circles just to try to get those steps in because I didn't want to venture too far out from my house just in case something happened because I was having those health issues. And in fact, 3 years later, I have gained 20 pounds, and most of that is muscle mass. I've just been building muscle, which I didn't know was possible at 46. But they say you can still build up into your 50s or so. But I got all my all my checkups, even my most recent one. It's all been fine. No health problems. I'm in better shape than a lot of 25-year-olds, so that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well. So I am 20. You're actually in much better shape than I am at 25. But so I'll give a little bit. I want to dig into that idea of how it can affect our spiritual health and even our like you said, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health. How that can affect all of it. But so I was an athlete in high school. Played football and was. Power lifter. So I had put in a lot of time with lifting weights, a lot of time with in the gym and things like that. So I know I know the athlete life, and I know the kind of drive that it takes. And I just let myself go after high school. Just kind of I was never, ever good with my diet. Even when I was playing, I thought it was awesome that I could eat thousands of calories more than everyone else, and just because I was going to train so hard that it affect me. So anyway, I not to make the story way too long, but I ended up going to get a body scan done. Found out that I have from that time I gained a lot of muscle in high school, so I'm already, I've got an athletic frame. with muscle. But I found out a lot of things, like I had developed type 2 diabetes.
Mm.
And I found that out after a cruise. My family went on a cruise, and I came back and I knew something was wrong. I knew it wasn't feeling well. I was having to stop to use the restroom like every 30 minutes on the drive back home. So I was like, something's wrong. And so I was constantly thirsty, just drinking water constantly. So I checked it up, and yeah, we decided to check my blood sugar at the end of that trip. And my blood sugar was 430. And that was a few hours after, after the whole drive back home. So I'm sure it was higher at some point. And so that was like, oh, okay, something's wrong. Found out that I was diabetic. And then for like a year, I still didn't take it seriously. Like, still didn't. Until December of this last year, blood sugar was up well over 500, probably got to 600. It was so bad that, like I was getting close to, dying.
Mm.
And so then I like really started to take it seriously. And so this year I started out almost 350 pounds, and we're, I'm down to 325 in that range right now. So
Awesome.
it's coming off since January, and I've been, back to living in a more healthy lifestyle. And I can speak to the fact that I feel better. And you're talking about like a mental sharpness. I'm in seminary, and so I'm taking classes, and I'm finding myself having a lot easier time sitting in class and actually comprehending what we're learning, and actually just having this sharpness about what I'm doing. So could you dig in a little deeper on like how this affected your mental, like with your job specifically being, working in a seminary, and also your spiritual health?
Well, in in apologetic circles, in addition to 1 Peter 3:15 and 16 that apologists always quote, we always quote either the Matthew or Luke 10:27, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And apologists like to harp on that mind part. We're like, and I know theologians do too, when they, and sometimes pastors who are more theologically inclined and educated, they want people to sharpen their mind. As C.S. Lewis said, you don't have to, you don't have to have the sharpest wits, but you need to use all the wits that you have. And so we always stress that learn more about theology, learn more how to defend your faith. Dig deeper into biblical studies and exegesis and all of that. Dig into your Bible study. We talk about the life of the mind, but the reason why I always go to the Luke passage instead of the Matthew one is because it includes that strength. Because I didn't have any, and it's easy, and you're in seminary, so that it is easy to get lost in theology books. It's easy to geek out on all of these kinds of things and get into debates and get into, all of this stuff, get into listening to other scholars talking about theological issues. And it's kind of just an amplified version of church culture where you just become so sedentary and there's a lot of eating involved,
Right.
Whether you're just sitting on your couch listening to a podcast or sitting at your desk, stuffing your face. And it's like, well, I am strengthening, sharpening my mind, but I don't have any strength, and I look at those things, heart, soul, mind, and strength, and I'm like, I'm not loving the Lord with all of that. I'm emphasizing some at the expense of others, and I don't think that that's how God wants this to work. I think God wants us to balance these things out, and I think when you get these out of balance, when you neglect things like your strength or whatever, it's going to affect your ability to love God with all your heart. It's going to affect your ability to love God with all your soul. It's going to affect your ability to love God with all your mind. And I was noticing, just that, like I said, that mental fog is like, that's an easy one to say. I'm trying to love the Lord my God with all my mind, just like Jesus tells us to, but yet I'm not giving my mind its best operations because it's so dragged down because of all these other things. It's similar, it's similar to like the heart issue. For those who think that some people get so far deep into theology and stuff that they're practical application, their ability to do spiritual disciplines and engage with the Lord on a heart level. Just they seem like they're very heady, but they're dry as dust spiritually, right? Well, the same thing the same thing can be said about people who become so enriched in that stuff about the mind that you neglect your strength. The heart people, the ones that are adding feet to their gospel message, and they're out there serving their church, they're out there serving their community, they're doing repairs and stuff. They have the physical capabilities for that because that's an extension of their heart, right? And that helps with their strength. Maybe those people might want to read more, theology books, but that's not their weakness. My weakness is I can't be out there with them if I feel like, horrible all the time.
Right.
And so these things you got to keep in balance, but mine was so far out of balance that it was affecting all of those other things. But once I got healthier, once I started putting better foods in my body, once I started trying to get more physical activity in my life, even though I don't necessarily have a job that's conducive to that, I found ways around that. Like sitting under my desk is a pedal station that I pedal on while I work. Yeah. Right here. And I can sit at my desk, and that's awesome. That's like 90% of my cardio. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. My wife and I will go on a walk at night just when the weather's good. Evansville's where we live, and it's always raining here. It's like the Seattle of the Midwest. But I have that to do my cardio. That's where I get most of my cardio, is sitting at my desk, and I can type and just work. And after about a week of it, you get used to it, and I just sit down and start typing, and I don't even notice that I'm pedaling anymore. And I have to, every couple of months I'll increase the resistance just to progressive overload. But it's keeping me more sharp spiritually, which is giving me more strength to be more active in my community with serving our local church. Our church is one of those go out and do kind of churches. Right. And so, we are always working on projects where we can go to people's homes and clean that stuff up. Because I feel better, I'm able to spend, be awake with good, healthy hours to spend with my kids, with my wife, being more active, doing stuff as a family, getting out more often. I'm always like not dreading, we're going to go walk around this place for a few hours. It's like, it's easier to just sit here. So I'm able to keep up with them. And so it's just all around helped that. And then when your family life is doing better, and your work life is better and your health is better, you're able to just kind of compartmentalize these things to where you can make sure you're focusing on your heart, you're focusing on your prayer life, you're focusing on not just reading the theology books, but you're reminded also to read the devotional materials, to get some balance in your life, because I need that, because I read so much academic stuff in my job that I do need to read the practical application, the pastoral type books, the books that the laymen's in the church are always reading, because I'm like, there's value in that. Probably, I mean, I know the easy thing to say is a lot of it's terrible, but a lot of it isn't. And I have to make more use of that so that I can be in community and fellowship with those fellow brothers and sisters of Christ in my church, and get that kind of spiritual nourishment that you don't necessarily, you think you're getting it with academic works, but you're really not. So, but I could be attentive to a lot more just because I'm not so sluggish now. And I'm not so that every time that I'm not either at work or having to spend family time or whatever, go to church, not just wanting to veg and turn my brain off and just stuff my face with food and because that's so easy to find comfort in.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel terrible all the time.
Yeah. And that's not really even a joke. Like, I felt so just terrible, like you said, terrible all the time. It's like there's a fog mentally. Everything that you do is like taxing. It's like exhausting. So like, I get done with class. My wife would get done with work, and I just don't feel like being active. I feel like, I'm just I feel tired all the time. I feel like I need to sleep constantly. And so that's something that I noticed changed, and specifically changed for me when I cut sugar out. Sugar was like the biggest culprit. If I got rid of sugar out of my diet, and even still, like I don't completely cut it out 100%, but to the point where like I have so much more energy. Wake up in the morning with energy. The rest of my day I feel better, and that does translate into having more energy. So and being able to be more involved in mission at my church and things like that. So I 100% see what you're saying with that. If we could give some, maybe we touched a little bit on the biblical there. Maybe we give some practical steps. I noticed that you have a that little device in your desk, but like practically for those of us who are involved, say in seminary or have a job that's not really conducive to a healthy lifestyle, what are some tips maybe you would give people on how to stay active?
Well, I was getting up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym every day. And when I first started doing it, because what I did was I first just started walking, and you could walk for free,
Hmm.
you know. And then when I had kept up with that, I started, like I said, working in some dumbbell exercises. And I said, if I can stick to doing this for so long, then I can justify spending the money for a gym membership. And when I say gym membership, I'm talking about Planet Fitness, what, $10 a month, whatever it was
Right.
like. But I got to develop the habits, to make sure I will stick to this. And it really is, for me, it's really begins with the practical begins with the devotional. So one of the fruit of the Spirit, if you read Galatians 5:22-23, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and then there's that last one,
Hmm.
right? Self-control.
Right.
And having self-control, having discipline, because my mind finds comfort emotionally in eating certain foods, but my body hates me for it, and it lets you know. And so you're always trying to fight your own body to feel emotionally better when you're eating a lot of just garbage. But for me, the change was I needed to hit rock bottom. I knew that I wasn't giving the Lord my best. And so it became an issue, a discipline of, God has given me this body.
Mm.
This is, every gift from God is good. It's of grace. What have I done with it for the past 7-8 years? When I got to that place in 2019, I did it my way. I've destroyed my body. It was 100% preventable. And so I think it's a good thing that I have to suffer
Mm. Right.
hunger, right? It's good to go hungry because I've ate whatever I felt like eating, and this is what you got out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at the change not as, the make small minor changes and, start slow and all of that kind of stuff. I was like, no, I can't do that, because I should have the self-control to say no to things. If I can say no to porn, and if I can say no to taking the Lord's name in vain, and if I can say no to not watching certain things on television that I wouldn't want my mother sitting next to me watching, if I start saying no to all that, why can't I say no to this? And why is this less important than the fact that I could pat myself on the back for all the other things that I say no to?
Right.
For me, it had to start with a mental change and that. And then once you've committed yourself to, I'm going to be self-disciplined and exercise self-control, I'm going to make myself walk. I'm going to make myself do some exercises at the gym. I'm going to make myself stop blowing. Speaking of just being a steward of the body, I need to be a steward of my finances. I'm not going to go spend 10 or 12 bucks a day on my lunch break eating stuff that's killing me.
Right.
Right. And so, even with inflation, I probably eat $10 worth of food for the whole day, if that, and I eat 6 times a day.
Wow.
Right. And so my money, has I've saved a lot of money by not eating out, even buying food at the grocery store. Of course, I also have a little garden and I have chickens to give me eggs, so I'm not suffering from the egg crisis like everyone else. We got a few little chickens back there to give us eggs. But when I decided I'm not going to spend my money on this stuff that's, junk food, eating out every day, all of this stuff. So it's all these practical changes that I learned to prep my own food. I went and bought a bunch of containers, like $8 for these containers that, I even here at the office, let's see if I can find it real quick. Well, I can't see it. Anyway, somewhere up here in the office, I have stuff falling from my desk. I have measuring cups. I went, whether I'm at home or at the, I just, it's not hard to just take a measuring cup, scoop a portion, right? I started really trying to buckle down on, I'm going to prep all my food. And I got to the point where it started getting real easy to where I just prep all my food on Sunday for the whole week. And yeah, I'm microwaving stuff on Friday that I made on Sunday, but still I started prepping my food, just eating a protein source, a green vegetable, and either rice or quinoa or sweet potato or something, for my carbs. And that's it. The only variety that I ever get in my food is for my dinner. I have a lovely wife who cooks dinner. We, believe it or not, I still have teenagers in the house, and yet we still manage to most, not, they work and stuff, but whenever we can, we still eat together as a family, which is I'm thankful for. And my wife will still cook dinner 4 to 5 nights a week, and then I cook on the weekends. But that's the only variety I get. Every other meal, I'm eating the same thing every day. I prep because I'm just make a big batch of it on Sunday, and I portion it out in my containers. I eat the same thing for breakfast. I eat the same thing for lunch. I eat the same, have a protein shake mid-afternoon, have a protein shake before bed. My dinner is the only variety, but my wife cooks healthy too anyway. So and I just learned how to portion control dinner. And that's kind of just how I eat. I eat more simply, not a whole lot of variety except for one meal a day. I know that sounds like awful to some people, but you get used to it, and you save a lot of money when you buy like enough like that. So, then I get variety of dinner, and on the weekends when I cook, I know what I need. So I make some variety there on the weekends when I cook the dinners. We don't eat out a lot, it's not healthy and it's not sanitary. I've worked in restaurants, but I wasn't always a vice president. I've worked at Domino's. I've worked at Country Table. I've worked at those restaurants. I mean, and the food is just mostly processed food that they buy in bulk and all of this kind of stuff. But we just go to the local ruler store. Or Aldi's or whatever. It's not expensive to eat healthy, and you save a ton of money when it takes me 45 minutes. And the longest thing I'm waiting for is either my rice or quinoa to finish, because you just chop up chicken into small pieces or turkey or hamburger or steak or salmon patty. It cooks real quick, and, green vegetables, just frozen green vegetables or something from our garden, and just put it in there. And that's how I've been eating. Very structured eating. I think that we do ourselves a disservice. I mean, if you go to the first century, you were eating bread, fish, and some green vegetables. I mean, that's what Paul ate most of the time. I mean, we are spoiled with options, in the modern world, and that is to our detriment, because we don't work for our food as much, we don't put in effort to prepare it. We're certainly not growing our own stuff or trying to go catch our own fish or whatever. There's that joke. Pastors always talk about they'll make a joke from 1 Timothy 4:8, bodily exercises of little profit. Haha, right? Why would I do that? It's of little profit, but godliness is, profitable for this life and the life to come. And I tell people, well, okay, the Bible just told you that something has profit, right? It might be a little, but it has profit,
right?
And you're saying you don't want that,
right?
Don't joke about that, because the Bible says, but it has little profit in comparison to what? In comparison to eternity, this life and the life to come. But if you're comparing how much profit exercise has now to sitting on your rear end and stuffing your face with potato chips, it's going to have a ton of profit, right? So. Plus that verse was written to people who ate organically and walked most places that they went every day, and were working in fields. So we don't have, unless you're like a contractor or something, and you do what I call real work, because I don't consider this real work compared to people who hurt at the end of the day. We don't get a lot of this activity, but I don't think we're serving God until we start making these changes. And I think a lot of the change comes with if we start eating better, and I limit my meals. Like I said, it's a different green vegetable every week, but it's the same one every day because I prep, if it's green beans that week, it's green
Right.
beans for lunch. It's a different protein source and it's a different carb source, whether it's rice, quinoa, potato, or sweet potato. And those are the only four that I eat now. I just eat more simply. And my wife will make pastas and stuff, for dinner. But now we're doing the whole zoodles, zucchini noodles. That's a lot of fun. So it's basically, if I'm eating spaghetti with zoodles, it's just a tomato-based, meat and veggie disc.
Yeah.
It's just weird. You can make all these little tweaks. But as far as exercise go, I didn't like going to the gym, to be honest with you, because I did it because I thought that that's what you do until I realized, oh, I can't go to the gym anymore. So I got to figure out body weight. I got to figure out, what I can buy, what I can afford. A lot of, I've been collecting stuff for 3 years now. But I was like, weights are expensive, it's almost $2 a pound for a bar, and then you get a barbell and a rack. And I'm looking at it, it's like, I can't afford any of this. So I started small, but ever since I got out of the gym, I work out whenever I want to, and it's great because instead of taking a lunch break for an hour and going and sitting at one of these restaurants that's going to charge me a lot of money to eat bad food, I eat at my desk. I have a microwave here, but we have one in the break room if you don't have one or whatever, while I'm working. And then for my hour or 40 minutes or whatever I take for lunch, if I didn't work out at home or if I'm not going to in the afternoon, I get a workout in on my lunch break, wearing jeans, whatever I'm wearing. I don't need to go change into my gym outfit or whatever. I don't care. I'm just trying to get the work done. And I try to work out minimum 4 days, but sometimes I work out, depending on my split, I'll do 7 days just to keep going. And, because I have that flexibility, I have some stuff here in my office. I have some stuff at home, and it really doesn't take a lot. Like, when I was going to the gym, I was just doing barbell, dumbbell, and machine stuff.
Right.
But I discovered a whole world of stuff. And so now I have weight plates and stuff. Cause like I said, I spend a little bit of money every month or whatever. And I built up, a nice little home gym. I think I have about $1,700 invested in all of my equipment between the house and work or whatever. But over the last 3 years, it's only come out to like $50 a month, which I save by not eating 5 combo meals every month. So I mean, it feels like an investment, but I mean, for me, gym didn't really work, but I didn't get a whole lot of community there because it's hard to find anyone who'll go work out with you.
Yeah.
And everyone at the gym, you don't get to know anyone because they'll have the earbuds in and they're staring at their phones.
Right.
So I was like, I don't need this for the camaraderie of the community because I don't have any here, and nobody I know wants to go to the gym or can't go at 5 a.m. when that was the only time that I could go.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people who are convinced that you don't really need a gym at all to stay fit, unless you just like that stuff and you can't afford, the barbell and the squat rack and all of that. And like, if you're into powerlifting, that's going to cost you a lot of money to do that at home.
Yeah. I'm lucky here on campus. We have a gym here at the seminary, and so that's free. But and there's a group of people that I play soccer with like twice a week, and then I'm in there weightlifting for the other days, and so I'm able to use that, and that's really nice. One thing that I did though before I even started going back into the gym, because for a long time I was kind of intimidated to go back into the gym. I guess there's that like pride thing. I don't want to look weak, and the fact is, like, I can't lift like I used to. Like, I knew that I was going to have lost a lot of strength, and so then I'm just going to be this really large man in there who's not lifting as much as he looks like he should. So I didn't go in for a while. But what I was doing when I first started was I would I have a couple classes that I'm taking where I have audiobooks instead of actually buying the paper books. And so I would just, I have a book review I need to be working on. So instead of sitting here and reading the book, I'm going to go walk the walking track and listen to the book. So I ended up getting a lot of both of my, multitasking, getting my schoolwork done and my exercise at the same time. You were mentioning earlier when we were talking, you said something about the way some pastors look at it, like it profits little, or they might even, and I've heard some people use it like exercising is sort of a waste of time. Like we need to be really focused on evangelism, the Great Commission, and going into the gym is a waste of time. But so I heard Michael Brown. I heard him talk a while back because he also lost like a lot of weight, and I heard him talk about how he was running into such health issues that he was not able to do as much ministry. Like he wasn't able to keep up with the schedule. He wasn't able to keep up with the travel of going from the churches that he was speaking at. And so when he decided to take it seriously, and he did very similar to what you did, where he said he just went all in, just completely start.
He looks like a different man than he did 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
And he said he's actually increased his ability to do ministry and to be because he's physically in better shape. He can handle the toll that ministry takes on his body.
It's deeper than that for a lot of people, because this idea that that's like I said at the very beginning, you need to spend more time in Bible study and spend more time. Well, that I know so many seminarians, I know so many theology geeks and apologetic geeks who know everything there is to know about current scholarship and systematic theology and everything else. And they don't do any evangelism either because they've gotten so deep in study. Anything can become a hindrance.
Right.
But here's the thing about evangelism is it's not just about not having the physical energy to get out there and do that stuff. Most people are insecure and lack self-confidence in their ability to walk up and talk to somebody. Maybe it's because they don't like the way that they look, or maybe it's because they don't know enough about apologetics or whatever to share the gospel and how to handle pushback or anything else. But if you don't know enough, you can always study more. But if you lack self-confidence and you don't like the way you look, you can change that too. Trust me, I look like a completely different human being than I did, 4 years ago. Completely different.
Right.
And I'm not the best looking man, but I'm a lot better looking than I used to be. I'll tell you that. But it gives you a lot of self-confidence when you get your mind and body all in sync, and you're just firing on all cylinders, and you're in really good shape. It boosts your self-esteem. It boosts your self-confidence that you feel like you can walk up to people and say, "Hey, let me share you a little bit about my life, and let me tell you a little bit about my Savior Jesus Christ." Whatever, if you see somebody in the supermarket and they're talking about, I don't know, they're talking about the latest movie they saw, and you're like, that movie has a theme about good versus evil. And let me tell you how I view good versus evil in the world, because I believe that there really is something good, and that's grounded in God. And all, you just take anything you can. You have so much more confidence in yourself because you feel so much better, and yes, it's true, you look so much better. And this is why I've also heard a lot of preachers, and I've heard it since I've lost weight, that this is about vanity now. And I'm like, yeah, that's a danger too, no problem. But the fact that I might be vain or could fall into vanity is a reason to look like garbage and feel like garbage. No, I'll take the risk of becoming a little bit more vain. But really, vanity is, the way that you can avoid that is to be impervious to embarrassment and make fun of yourself with self-deprecating humor. But no, it's not about vanity. It's in fact, this from powerlifting. All those mirrors in the gym, they're there to make sure that your form is good.
Right.
And whenever you look at yourself, a lot of people have body dysmorphia that get really, you're like, oh, I look so terrible compared to so-and-so when you look like a Greek god compared to like 90% of the population, but you're sitting there dogging yourself like, oh, these genetics are keeping me. Like, I don't have your frame. I have a 16-year-old girl's frame. And so I can't pack on a lot of muscle unless I do some things that are legal, are legal in Canada, but not legal. But that's terrible for your health. So everyone, people ask me, should Christians take PEDs, performance enhancing drugs? And I'm like, no, because it's illegal. but also if you can't do it doctor supervised,
Right.
then no, because you're putting your health at risk. But I want to temper that if it became legal and that you could get doctor supervision to, then, I don't think it's a sin if you're doing it in a way that's assisting your overall health, that's not going to cause side effects that will jeopardize your health.
Right.
So I gotta technically qualify that. I don't take anything. I don't even, I'm 46
Right.
and I'm not even on any HRT. I'm jealous of my friend, my co-host of Trinity Radio. He said this on the air, so it's not like I'm outing him, but he says he's taking testosterone. We have the same doctor, and I was like, I mean, he seems to be happy with it, but
Right.
no, he said, if you don't need it, I'm not giving it to you. So
Right.
I don't get any. But yeah, I mean, unless it's doctor prescribed or whatever. But with my genetics, I'm never going to be big, so it's harder for me to. And if I'm constantly comparing myself to like Chris Bumstead, for example, Mr. Olympia, you know, I'm never gonna. Don't worry about vanity, right? Because I'm gonna feel like a small fry. He's 6 foot something. I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
Right? I have wrists like my daughter. So come on,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, no, I'm not worried about that. I've got I have a fitness channel called Theology, Geek, Fitness here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, theology and fitness. I'm a theology geek that does fitness. And so most of the channel content is about how to different reviews and discussions on how to stay in shape if you're not going to the gym, because I know a lot of Christians don't have time to go to the gym, though the gym is a mission field, but still, that's what that channel. But if you look at my videos when I'm doing leg exercises, I've got like barely any calves. So I mean, it's like, don't worry about vanity. If you are not going to look like these fitness models that are on all kinds of performance enhancing drugs, and they have top chefs and they have 6 hours a day to spend on their body, and they're enhanced or whatever. So no, you're not going to be. Don't worry about getting like that and thinking that, oh, you're going to become vain. So I would tell everyone, take the risk of becoming vain by getting in shape, and then talk to me after you're there, and then we'll worry about that. But let that be a possible problem, because the problem I see that I had, and that when I watch people in my life, the biggest problems that we have is probably gluttony and sloth.
Right.
And gluttony is easily defined as consuming more energy or calories than you need, right? You're just overindulging. And sloth is not expending the energy you consume.
Right.
So, because I mean, it was like, I'm not lazy. Hang on for a second. What you mean to say is that you're busy, but being busy is not the same thing as being lazy, because you can become busy trying to binge watch the latest Star Wars show on Disney Plus or whatever it is. You're going to do a whole Marvel rewatch before the next movie comes out. Yeah, you're busy, but you're still kind of lazy. I know you go to work. I went to work. I'm not lazy. I went to work every day. And then I went home and sat on my rear end and stuffed my face even more after I did that at my desk all day. Yeah, I understand you're busy, but that doesn't mean you're not lazy. And so sloth and gluttony are probably the biggest problems that people have when it comes to their health.
Right.
And those are spiritual issues. It is a sin to be lazy. It is a sin to be idle, and being idle can take you into all sorts of nefarious types of activities. Paul warns Timothy about this, especially with women, but I mean, you could apply it to both men and women. There's the gluttony thing. So I'm not a glutton. Glutton is, well, yeah, you kind of are if you're just eating more than you need. Why would you do that? Right? That's overindulgence. That you're spending more money on food than you need to. So it's all wrapped together, right? And so when people ask me, is it a sin to be overweight, or is it a sin to be obese? Is it a sin to be fat? I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. It's not a sin to have blonde hair. It's not a sin to be 5'8", or a sin to be black or white or Asian. Those are just states of being. However, what caused you to be overweight or obese is sinful,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no mystery to this. Especially, the science is pretty clear that not moving a whole lot and overindulging in a lot of food is why people put on extra pounds.
Right.
99% of all cases. Now, some people have hormonal issues and other things, but even there with them, it's
Right.
still, if it might happen slower because of your
Right.
metabolism problems that intertwine, but it'll still happen if you eat less and move more. And
Right.
so, no, it's not a sin to be overweight. It wasn't a sin for me to be overweight, but it was a sin for me to be lazy and stuffing my face with food that I shouldn't have been eating in the first place.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that these are all, it's all intertwined with the physical and the spiritual,
Yeah. And I feel like the response to that is, yeah, there might be a danger of vanity, but there's also the danger of gluttony and these other sins with eating. So it's like to say that it's not worth taking seriously because there's the danger of you becoming vain and looking, trying to just look better, then yeah, well, there's danger of abusing and sinning in pretty much any human activity that we can do. I think, I don't know. I think pretty much anything can be sinful if you do it out of out of wrong intention, wrong motivation, or you do it out of balance, things like that. Like any of these things can be sinful. But yeah, so to kind of maybe wrap up the conversation, to how would you say start? How would you say to start? Like maybe some tips on what to eat or some tips on things like that as we end it. To kind of for those people who really want to get started, they feel like they need to. What should they be eating? What should they be? You've already said walking.
Yes. I always recommend starting with walking and changing your diet.
Mhm.
And it's not a mystery what's healthy.
Right.
Fresh vegetables, good protein source, whether it's chicken, fish, pork, I don't care, steak, hamburger meat, whatever. And if you don't want to count calories and measure things, my simple portion thing is meat, however, your body frame is, whatever fits under your hand, that's your meat portion. Your fist is a pile is your vegetable and carb sources. So if you have like a meat and two sides, just eat what's under your hand and about the size of your fist. And that's how I prep my trays. And if you're at a restaurant, it's really great because portions are so large that just cover it and just kind of eyeball it or whatever and save the rest for another meal.
Right.
And if you still think that you should be eating out all the time, which you shouldn't be. So it's real easy to just say, lay out your hand, whatever fits under there, the meat. Or if you're eating a casserole, like a ham casserole, or you're eating something where all of that stuff's kind of in one pot, like a crock pot meal or whatever. I mean, you can make exceptions for that and just keep your portions under control. Make sure you always, I get this from a guy, a fitness YouTuber, Red Delta Project. He talks about the 3 Ps. It's have a protein, have a plant, and portion. The 3 Ps: protein, plant, and portion. And just keep your portions relatively small. And so I eat all day, right? I eat 5 to 6 times a day. And I consider it like I have a protein shake, but just eat more vegetables, eat more meat sources, get your protein in. Protein helps keep you full. It helps your mind stay sharp. We eat a lot of processed garbage. Cut all that out. And I know it sounds dread. It's like cold turkey. That's so hard. Yeah, it's supposed to be, but you've done your way for this long and look where it got you. So that's how I had to. So I always recommend walking. I recommend, if you like the gym, go to the gym. If you don't have time for the gym, go watch Theology Geek Fitness. I show how to get in shape with like adjustable dumbbells, weight vests, sandbags, suspension trainers, resistance bands, just a pull-up bar. I now have a pull-up bar in my backyard. All kinds of home fitness gear that doesn't cost a lot of money. And whether I'm using dumbbells or I'm using my body to do biceps curls off of a suspension trainer or gymnastics rings, you can get as good of a workout if you learn how to, master those things and master your techniques. So I don't like being a minimalist. So I kind of a gear guy. I was like that way back when I was doing music. I like to collect different pieces of music equipment or whatever. So I like to collect different fitness equipment. But I don't need most of it. I mean, I do just as good with resistance band suspension trainers as I do with my weight plates on my adjustable dumbbells or my weight vest. If you just learn what you're doing, it doesn't take a whole lot of money. Most of the stuff that I buy, except for the weights, is the more expensive ends are probably about $120 or so, and the cheapest stuff. I went to Five Below to get my daughter works at a Five Below, and I went to get a suspension trainer that cost $10 from there, and is as good as a TRX. Well, it's not as good quality, but I mean, it could get the job done just as much as a TRX suspension trainer that costs $150 or whatever at Academy Sports. So I mean, really, you don't have to put a lot in. You just get started somewhere. And get started with walking, get started with eating better. And we know what's healthy: fruits and vegetables and just a piece of meat. And, the only carbs that you should eat is rice, quinoa, potato, or sweet potato. Sweet potato is the best. Quinoa is probably the second best. Rice.
Yeah.
Regular potato. So just start simply and learn to not need food as a source of comfort. Right? Because that, or at least for me, it was really, that's what got me to eat the kinds of foods, because you get a rush, from eating junk food. That's how you get addicted to it, especially with sugar. But learn to look at food as, this is provision for God to keep this body going so I can better serve him, better serve my family, better serve my church, better serve my function at work. It's overall about stewardship and self-discipline and self-control. And so just get into that mind frame, and then start simply with walking and trying to do some exercises at home and changing your diet. Because if losing weight is your goal, and my goal is for people to be healthy, but if losing weight is your goal, it's going to come down to eating less, eating better foods, and probably a lot of calorie burning through walking.
Yeah.
And it's good. And you don't need to join a gym. I never understood people who join a gym just to get on a treadmill, when right outside the gym door, you can do that for free if you're just going to walk. So just get walk.
Well, and you can get creative with it. When I first started, trying to lose weight, and I've done this before, but this is the first time that I didn't have access to the gym. This was before, and I would pull home with the groceries, and we had stairs walking up to our apartment. And so in order to get there, I'd have to walk down like 8 steps, and then I have to walk up 20 steps to get to our apartment. So what I would do is I would take one item at a time, and I'd go up and down the stairs. And so by the time, I've spent, 30, 40 minutes doing this, and you burn a lot of calories just walking up and down the stairs.
That's like me walking in the backyard. Just start with what you have. Like, I mean, the easiest way to start is with body weight exercises. You can do that anywhere. You are a gym, and you say, well, yeah, I'm overweight. I can't do push-ups. Good. That means you're lifting heavy weights day one with body weight, and
especially if you're like my size, like it's best to start with body weight, because you might hurt yourself if you I'm carrying way too much weight. So I'm probably pushing myself too hard in the gym. I probably actually should just stick to more body weight exercising. But
for me, it was when I walked in, I knew kind of what you were saying earlier about, if I go to the gym, I'm going to look ridiculous or whatever. Working out body weight at home, or with resistance bands, or with a suspension trainer, or even just some adjustable dumbbells, if you got the money for that kind of thing, avoids all that. But I mean, I remember going at Planet Fitness, they don't even have a barbell rack. It's all squat machines. So you use a squat bar to do bench press. And I remember, and that bar doesn't weigh 45 pounds. I think it's a 25-pound bar on the Smith machines.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I was after 3 sets of 10 with a 25 on each side, right? That was my first foray, and I was sore and tired. Now you actually gain strength
Right.
pretty quickly in the first 3 months. You'll see massive jumps. I mean, once you start doing it regularly, but I think I got to where I was benching 185 by the time I quit the gym. I started in June, and then I was doing 3 sets of 10 at 185 that March before they closed. So
3 sets of 10
that's
at 185.
yeah, that was less than a year.
That's pretty good. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, bench press is a skill. You have to work it. It's not
Right.
like it's neurological. It's not necessarily just how much. It's absolute strength, but it's you can that has no transfer to anything. It's just you learn to bench well, and I wanted to be able to bench well because I wanted to be able to max 225. I don't
Mm.
bench press. I haven't bench pressed in forever because I don't bench press anymore. I don't go to the gym.
Right.
I do a weight vest and I do body weight push-ups or on rings,
Mm.
stuff like that. I do body weight weighted dips and stuff. So I don't. It's like, what do you bench now? I don't know. I'd have to work back up to it because I probably my wiring's got to get. I haven't done
Yeah.
that in over 3 years. So you got to. I could probably move the weight, but it's going to look terrible until I get the form down.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how fast you lose it because like when I was in high school, senior year of football, I bench pressed 330 pounds, and I can't do that. Right now, I've been lifting for about 3 months again, and my last max I was at 255. So like it takes a while to like I was just looking at, you said 3 sets of 10 on 185. I'm not sure I can get 3 sets of 10. That's really good. I could probably get a set of 10 for sure, but I'm also training differently. I'm not training as See, I'm learning that I shouldn't be training like a power lifter. Power lifters train lower reps, heavier weight because you're trying
Yeah.
to build strength. And at this point, my goal is actually trying to lose weight and build muscle. And so I need to actually be higher reps, lower weight. But there's something within me that hates putting lower weight on the bar. I want to be able to power it up.
Well, when I was in my 20s, I could do a 225 max, and I was probably benching around 165, just for reps, but
Mhm.
I wanted to best that, and so I was really, working on the bench press where I could, I could 3 sets of 10 at 185, probably about 2 to 3 minutes rest was my working sets by the time I got out of the gym, and you can get there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you that every rep was clean, and I'm not going to tell you that I didn't try to overarch my back, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're not a big guy, the bar has to travel further, so you figure out a
Right.
lot of ways to
Yeah.
increase your weight in your body leverage so that you travel the bar less distance. But yeah, I'm not saying it's pretty, but I'm saying I was doing it. But like I haven't bench pressed in years. But I don't really care what people do. Like people ask me, well, what's the best? Do you like weights, or do you like? I don't care. I
Mhm.
like all of it now. I used to hate working out. Now I like all of it, and it doesn't really matter what you do. Genetics is going to determine
Mhm.
a lot of this, how your ultimate physique ends up, what your max capabilities are. That's all. Your strength and your capacity to build muscle is genetic, but it takes you three 3 to 5 years to get about 85 to 90% of all the gains you're ever going to get.
Mhm.
And then it takes you another 20 years after that to ever reach your genetic limit, because it's muscle building. If that's what your thing is, it slows down, the rewards are less and less. But yeah, building muscle is, training differently. Like you said, it's higher volume, higher reps. Or you can do HIIT training, which is just not
Right.
IIT, not high interval high intensity interval training, but HIIT, which is high intensity
Mhm.
training, and that's one set to failure. But I mean, it's absolute
Right.
momentary know you're on the positive concentric where you cannot do it. And then if you want to, you can drop set if you're on a machine and do it. But I find that kind of training boring, just doing one set, because I like to do supersets. And, I like to do a chest exercise, take a minute break, jump to a back exercise, take a minute, jump back to, and that way it cuts down on the rest times, because I'm getting, 2.5, 3 minutes, depending on how long my reps take between each exercise, but I'm jumping back and forth between them, so my back's resting while I'm working my chest or whatever. So there's a lot of ways to do that. I don't think we need to get into programming, but I always tell people, find something that you like and that you can stick with.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, I liked none of it. So find the one that you hate the least if you don't like, but do something to stay physically active, to be able to be strong, physically fit, not because, oh, I will look better, but aesthetics are important. So I'm not saying there's a fine line between aesthetics and vanity. It's important to, be aesthetically pleasing to yourself and to your spouse and, whatever. That's important. So I'm going to say it's not important, but also, oh, look who's showing up on a
Braxton. Hey, what's up, Braxton?
Pixler.
And the aesthetics of this side just went down. Speaking of aesthetics, but
well, thank you for visiting the Theofly podcast. That's what you're doing right now.
I can barely hear you, Luke, because you're in Pritchett's ear.
Oh, I got you.
But I'm really glad to see you, man. I love you so much.
Good to see you too, Brax.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Anyway, never know who's going to pop into my office without knocking or being invited. No, it's not.
So I actually need to talk to him about coming on to tell me about free will, because I'm very confused in my philosophy class right now. So,
you should talk to either him or Tim Stratton. Tim Stratton's probably.
Oh yeah. I have his book on middle knowledge. It's over there. I haven't finished it.
No.
But anyway, I guess we can wrap it up here. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's just I think to start thinking of food as fuel rather than just using it to indulge yourself, and then also just burn more calories than you're consuming, and over time that will result in a healthier life.
And Bill, and I think strength and muscle building is actually important also, because you're the more muscle and strength that you have, and the more endurance, I don't want to leave out endurance training, more muscle strength and endurance that you have, the more you can do with your body to serve others, to serve God, to serve the kingdom, to serve your family. You can just do more. And so, like I said, I don't know what your genetic situation is. I know people that are missing limbs that are doing pull-ups with the wheelchair for additional weight. I follow 2 bodybuilders on Instagram who have cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow.
I see people missing limbs. I see people with health issues or whatever. And they're an inspiration to me, because it's like, I know too many people that if they're doing it, why aren't you? And so I like to follow and give support to people like that who are out there getting it done with less physical capabilities than I had. I was just being useless, right? These people are an inspiration. So we don't have excuses. Not in the modern world. We don't have excuses. Not when you can go get a $10 suspension trainer that has a max weight capacity of 350 pounds. So if you weigh under that, you can use this thing, and do something to build muscle, do something to get in shape, build your strength. You can serve more. When your buddy calls you to help move stuff around the church or move out of his apartment to a new home, you're not dreading that phone call.
Right.
You go serve your friends. There's just everything just gets better. Your mind clears up. You just feel better. And so I think if we are going to be good stewards with our time, with our money, and with our bodies, this is something that the church needs to be more active in promoting. And if the church is healthier and, yes, indeed, more aesthetically pleasing to look at, it's going to be more attractive to outsiders as well, that we're doing all of this. We're taking health seriously. We're taking fitness seriously. Right. And so there's an outreach component to that as well. So,
very good. we'll go ahead and end it here, but I want to go ahead and shout out the Theology Geek fitness channel. So you guys can go check that one out. He's mentioned it a couple times. I'll make sure to link that underneath here. And also Trinity Radio, Braxton.
The guy that walked in.
Yeah, he runs that over there. And yeah, y'all check those channels out. I'm sure you'll find great content there. You can also check out, I will link it, Luke's Fitness Academy, which is my channel that kind of details my journey, because it's going through my losing weight. I'm currently in the midst of this journey, so you can kind of hop in and watch it in real time if that's something that interests you. So check out all those links if you're interested, or don't. It's a free country. But I would like you to subscribe to this channel and hit like on this video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Sweet.